Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Dun and Bradstreet, for giving this opportunity to me to connect again with the PSU families and share my thoughts with all of you. My thoughts are very simple and commonsensical. And in today's complex words, many times may look as if we are not going into the depth of things. But trust me, if we are correct on macros, the micros follows. But if we are wrong on macros, nothing can happen. We cannot really do that well. PSU as a group, there is no doubt they have done tremendous job in nation building. We all know when we became independent and we needed, private capital was not there in the core sectors because of long gestation and lack of viability at that point of time. So it was government which created the structure of PSUs to drive growth in core sectors, and that time core sectors were steel, coal, power, defense. So there is no doubt they did a commendable job to start with, and today what we are, we started with the strength of PSUs. Another objective of PSUs was self-reliance. So we were supposed to be totally dependent on imports, so self-reliance was another major objective in critical areas of national building. Infrastructure development, another big thought that will not be possible unless government invests through entities, and we invested. Employment generation was another area, and then there were some other areas within this broader framework. The regional balance has to be created, industrial growth has to be dispersed in the backward areas and all that. But broadly, first four tenets remain the underlying tenets. Have we changed a lot today? We haven't much. Trust me, we haven't much. Even today, private capital is inadequate, and government has to chip in here and there, especially in the priority sectors. So let us see, government is investing a lot in the priority sectors like through PLI schemes, government support schemes. So in any case, government is investing, infrastructure, government is investing. So let us see in a framework what has changed since independence. Development of industry in the core sectors is still relevant. Only core sectors have changed. Today we are talking about semiconductors, telecommunications, AI and ML, technology platforms, defense again. So this is the broader thing in the core sector where growth will not be possible without government investment. Great. Self-reliance, PM speaks about self-reliance and keeps invoking thoughts around it, whether it is industry, whether it is consumption, whether it is production, whether it is supply chain, that we have to be self-reliant. So self-reliance initially was a thought, today also is a thought. Infrastructure development, not possible. We were hearing about domestic data centers, clouds. So again, these are different forms of infrastructure we are talking about. But even today, there is a lack of capability, capacity, and capital. All the threes are missing in the infrastructure development. Employment generation is still a challenge, but totally different skill sets are required for employment today. So basically, national challenges are same and similar, and we need government capital. We need government organizations to support it. But why PSUs are not filling that need? That is the bigger question here. So here the concept is PSUs have to realign themselves in the present day realities and national building needs. Unless you don't realign, you will lose relevance. We talk about that only the strategic PSUs will be retained, rest all will be privatized. But if you will continue to have your domain, your footprint limited to what you had been traditionally doing, and I can elaborate on each and every sector where the new dimension should have emerged. See, steel. Today we are the largest importer of special steel. There is a need. Domestic consumption is not sufficient to support a specialty steel plant, maybe. But who stopped us from doing R&D and doing a perfect model of creating specialty steel? Why this technology is limited to Korea, Japan, and certain countries, Germany for that matter? Why Steel Authority of India could not think of some innovative way of producing a specialty steel, not only for the country, even for the world market? But we could not attract that type of thing. Leaving that aside, it is possible to discuss each and every sector where the activities can be realigned. Give you one more thought. In the CPSU space, I don't have the data of state public sector, I'm sorry for that. But I may be little off the mark also, please bear with me. Nearly 272 CPSEs exist today. And 212 have been reported in profit in 2023-24. But when we talk about they are in profit and they should not be touched, we have to think in terms of, are they efficiently utilizing the capital deployed there? Is the return on capital normatively is matching the private sector peers? If it is not, then they are underutilized basically. Capital is underutilized and government need capital. Government need capital for many things, strategic needs basically. So why should they keep capital blocked in non-strategic sector where the industry is underperforming and not take it out and invest in the strategic sector? Think in other terms. In terms of revenue, nearly the revenue of these 272 CPSEs was nearly 36 lakh crores, out of which top 9 contribute more than 70% of the revenue. So we should know that most of the other CPSUs, either they are strategic and low volume, low turnover, or they are very tiny in size. There is a mushroom growth of CPSUs. There was a policy that the CPSUs will not be further created without certain approvals. I don't know whether it is being followed or not, but that policy was made by this government only. Again, let us talk in terms of budget announcement of 2021, where broadly it was said that only strategic PSUs will be retained and other PSUs will be, we will be thinking what to do and restructure them or whatever we can do, make them more economically sensible. Now coming to that issue, it has not been defined what is strategic. In the budget speech, at least it is not defined. But by very broader, commonsensical definition, defense, atomic energy, space, telecom, minerals and mining, petroleum, if we take all these things as strategic, for the sake of argument, the number will not be more than 100. Even in 100, many of the PSUs, when we will do little better understanding, will not be strategic. So around 70, 75 PSUs may fall in the strategic category with the widest stretch of imagination. Rest all will be non-strategic. So again, the issue should be whether capital deployed is efficiently being used. If it is not, whether the business potential is fully exploited or they need more capital. So there are only two alternatives. Either that industry raise capital from outside the government within the whole corporate structure, or it is divested from the government. Government takes out the capital and give it to private sector. Now, does it leave any discretion to the PSUs? I personally feel it leaves all the discretion to the PSU. One more thought process. Let us see how developed countries are using government organizations. I am enlarging the definition of a PSU into government organizations also. Most of the developed countries have very, very small number of government corporation or organizations. And corporations are generally preferred than organizations in the developed countries. They are strong, strategic, state-owned corporations, large in size, most of them having global reach. I am talking about all the developed countries you can think of. Very few, but very strong, big size. Most of these organizations are either doing some strategic operations or largely doing strategic research. So R&D is greatly focused by government in terms of investment. All the developed countries have financial structures, financial instruments, financial institutions for de-risking investments in important sectors. So all the government is having such organization which is de-risking private investment in a strategic sector, one way or the other. All the developed countries are heavily relying on PPP, and they have strategic regulation in place to guide growth in strategic sector. So in a strategic sector, PPP driven growth is guided through regulations and not always by investment. So regulations are catalyzing growth in those sectors. Now what is the roadmap ahead? If we think of PSU terms, what is the roadmap ahead? What is your strength today? You are fully government supported and funded entities. You have large land asset base, which is very important here. You have long sectoral presence, and we have tie-ups with all stakeholders, including global players. So you are well-known entity as far as the sector is concerned. Most of the large corporations are board-run corporate entities, and theoretically and practically also, most of the freedom lies in the board. Decisions of the board have to be taken properly. Government, we can talk about government approval is required. Technically, government approval is not required for the board decisions. Government nominees are there on the board, they will take the government viewpoint. But most of the board are not talking about anything beyond their traditional way of looking at things. And many are, I am not saying, many are expanding their footprint and they are successful also. There is most of the large CPSUs are listed CPSUs today. And when you are a listed CPSU, you have a lot of freedom to play with your equity structure. So you have a lot of freedom to raise capital from the market. You have a lot of freedom to DIPAM has already defined that there can be effective control even if the minority stake, less than 51% stake, and that is true with most of the private sector. But what are the weaknesses here? Why we are not able to leverage these strengths? Multiple small entities which I have underlined. There is a resistance to merger and consolidation at corporate entity level. None of the corporate entities will like that I should get merged with other corporate entity to become bigger in size. We talk about Big Four. In the government setup, there are so many consulting organizations. Everybody is working in a very small niche sector or many times overlapping sectors. But we never think of creating 2 or 3 government Big Fours. And it is simply possible. Railways, so there is a policy of mergers and consolidation announced in 2017. That policy exists, but corporate entities are not coming forward that this is how. Neither ministries are thinking in terms of why these PSUs cannot come together, because that PSU then will go from my ministry to that ministry. So these tough wars are stopping us from taking decisions with economic rationale. We lack R&D badly in PSUs. Nobody has stopped you. We don't have IPRs, we don't have R&D, and most of the developed countries, the government organizations are custodians of huge intellectual capital. Most of the CPSUs are not lean and efficient if you benchmark them to the efficient ones in the same sector. And long and medium term vision is lacking in the PSUs because unfortunately MDs come for 3 to 4 years, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So they have a limited vision and limited milestones to be achieved. So they are not going beyond what they should do. I'm sorry, I'm over. Now, only point is you have to become relevant from today's point of view. You have to realign your activities. You have to create synergies with the national priorities. You have to think in terms of not your personal existence, but national vision. Come out of your mold. With attrition, normal attrition, you can become leaner and efficient. And there is no bar in creating strategic JVs within the PSU framework with technology giants in the strategic sectors where you will be having a minority stake and they will be controlling the operations. So think afresh, think aloud, go forward. PSUs still can play a very important role in most of the strategic sectors. There is no bar for expanding your MOU and MOS. Please do that. Thank you very much.